नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्यासम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयम् करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादम् शङ्करम् लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करम् शङ्कराचार्यम् केशवम् बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। अपरोक्षानुभूति। श्रीहरिम् परमानन्दम् उपदेष्टारमीश्वरम् व्यापकम् सर्वलोकानाम् कारणम् तम् नमाम्यहम्. So in the last class we had a revision of the verse 65 and the related explanations what are required for understanding the upcoming passages. Hope all of you are clear about that. So we will move to the verse number 66 now, which says kārya-kāraṇata nityam aste ghadamrid yadartha yada tataiva Śruti yuktibhyam prapancha brahmanaha rahi. Now, there are two things which is being referred here, Śruti and pramāṇa. There are two aspects which are accepted for the valid knowledge. Śruti is Upanishad and the scriptural messages is considered as a valid means of knowledge for knowing what normally cannot be exposed by our sense organs. See, whatever can be given us by the sense organs, we have the sense organ which is either directly or indirectly giving us the valid knowledge, like, direct perception, then we have inference, etc. That is what is possible for us to grasp the knowledge for what is called pramāṇam. The word pramāṇam in Sanskrit means prama-karanam. Prama is knowledge. Karanam is instrument. So the instruments for knowledge acquiring or happening in us, whatever may be the instrument, that is one is called a pramāṇam. Now here we have sensory organs as our pramāṇam, plus depending upon the sensory inputs, sometimes we have the other inputs which is also accepted as valid means of knowledge, that is like the inference, example, etc. So there are 6 which are accepted. The 6th one out of that is what is called shabdam. Shabdam, the word is arrived from the word shabdam. What is produced by sound or by hearing is what is called shabdam. Now here there is a difference between the sensory input of ears, where we have the knowledge of mundane world or ephemeral world, like the sound of a bird or an animal, we are able to identify the animal by the previous knowledge of the animal and the sound related to that. But there is something which is in the relevance of or in the medium of sound, yet there is no way we can acquire a previous knowledge about it, because that is not directly perceivable through the sense organs of ear. That is what is categorized as shabdam in the traditional means. The sixth one is called Shabdam, which is indicative of scriptural knowledge or knowledge passed on by the teachers or the guru, from which is verifiable by our own experience and logic. So, logic is another means of knowledge which is accepted, tarka, what is called as tarka, which means the simple logic. Now, the meaning of the verse is like this: Yatha gadamritoho kārya-kāraṇata nityam aste. That is, just as gadamritoho, the connection between the jar and the earth, is given by kārya-kāraṇata, means cause and effect relationship. Mud is the cause, ghada is the effect. So cause and effect is nityam. It remains always that the cause and effect are indefinitely connected in all cases. That means there is another way of saying it, that kārana-vyatirekena kāryam nasti. If the cause is not there, the effect cannot be perceived or happening or knowing per se. So the cause is important and effect of the cause is not ananyatva, is not different from the cause itself. Tatha eva prapancha brahmanoho, between the phenomenal world and the Brahman or the consciousness, awareness, Śruti yuktibhyam, on the strength of the scriptural text and the reasoning. Śruti means scriptural text or the teacher's explanation. Yuktibhyam means logic which is used by the teacher to explain the scriptural text, because scriptural texts are always archaic and very secretive language which is used in the Upanishads and all, is not easily decipherable by us when we read it by them. So we need commentaries like Shankara's commentary or other commentaries and explanation by teachers who have studied them, understood them from the tradition, and they are able to explain the logic of the scriptural text. So the strength of the scriptural text and the reasoning are interconnected. Iha sa pratipadita is now going to be established. So this is an introductory verse where they is saying that the cause and effect relationship is the same which is being used here by the instruments of scripture and the logic for establishing the reason behind the connection between the phenomenal world and Brahman. Now, when we look into the commentary of Vidyaranya, it is read like this: Tatra hetuhu sadrishtantam aha kārya iti yata saumya ekena mrutpandena sarvam mrunmayam vitnyatam syat ityadi Śrutihi yuktistu kārya-kāranayoho ananyatve eka kārana-jnānāt sarva kārya-jnānam na syat ityadi sugamam anyat. That is, tatra hetu. Here in this context, the hetu means reason. In this tatra means in this context, hetu sadrishtantam. A reason is given together with the illustration. Now the example is always to be accompanied by a illustration of the example. Kārya iti means, beginning with the word kārya, is indicating about the example which has been given by the Upanishad. Here he is referring to 6.1.4 of Chāndogya Upaniṣad, where the father Uddalaka is talking to his son Shvetaketu. Yada Saumya means just as Soumya means dear son. Ekena mritpendena, by knowing the mritpanda or means the lump of mud. Sarvam mrinmayam, everything made of mud. Vijñādam syāt, you will know them as effect, and mud, lump of mud as the cause for it. So knowing the cause of the lump of mud, whether it is made of jar or lamp or doll or anything which is being made, that will be known by knowing the mud. Yukti hetu kārya-kāraṇayoho-anyatve. If there is an absolute differentiation between the cause and the effect, that means the cause is totally unaffected or uncontained or unrelated, with the cause and effect as unrelated, then knowing the cause, you will not know the effect if they are absolutely different. Therefore, eka kārana jnānāt sarva kāryam jnānam na syāt. Therefore, when we know the mud, we will not know the pot or the doll or the lamp or the etc. If the lamp, doll and the jar is totally different from mud. We say that mud is the cause. At the same time, we say the pot is different from the lump of mud. That's a statement which people make it. The jar has got utility. It can store water or liquid or grains or whatever it is. But as in a lump of mud, we can't do that. So the cause, lump of mud, is not the same as the jar, which is the effect. This is the standard statement which people make for refuting the logic. Here it is saying that if you do not know the cause, lump of mud, knowing the jar will have its own deficiencies. Whether it is made of wood or glass or mud should be known, then only you can handle it the way it is to be handled. Otherwise, the knowledge of the effect is not complete. Now here the reason of kārya, cause means kārya, in the Chāndogya Upaniṣad is the lump of clay and the effects are multiple in nature. He is referring there different products and saying that when you know that, when you know the lump of mud, everything made of lump of mud will be known, but because the non-difference between the cause and the effect, kāraṇa-vyatirekena kāryam nāsti. That is, if the cause is totally different from the effect, ananyatvam, and if it is different, then you will not know the nature of the effect without knowing the nature of the cause. Now, a pot is nothing but a clay in another form. Similarly, this universe, prapancha brahmanoho, in the verse it is that universe is nothing but Brahman in the name and form. Just as vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam mrityakatyeva satyam, in that case of ekena mritpandena, that by the lump and that lamp, Father said that it is all vacharambanam. It depends on the name and the form. That is the only difference between the lamp and the jar and the lump of mud. Same way, the universe, prapancha, what we are seeing as the transactional world, by the observer or the seer or the sakshi, has to be understood in the same way. Why? The reason is that Yukti is very clear. The name and form are dependent on the knowledge or awareness or consciousness. They are not independent. The potness is not just the same as that of mud. But at the same time, potness is nothing but name and form of the same lump of mud. Therefore, the reality is only one, and that is the clay. The same analogy, if you apply that, the world, the prapancha or the jagat is Brahman only, appearing under the upadhis of name and form. Whatever we are experiencing as the world, the content of the world is coming to us as experience. But in the experience, the content is not physically coming for us, into us to become part of us. But there is an aspect of the content which is having a name and form, which is now getting connected with the subject, the observer, making the content of the object known to the subject. Now this nature of Brahman, which is one knows all effects, because knowing or apprehending or awareness, consciousness, whatever may be the terminology we want to use for Brahman, one thing is very clear. The knowledge which Brahman is impacting on us has to be present in the objects, and the objects cannot independently exist if it is not knowable. The very reason anything is knowable is because knowledge is in the object. That is why it is becoming knowable. Just as the mud is present in the pot, Brahman, which is the knowledge in nature, that itself is present when it is appearing as a name and form. And this is the reason why in the Chāndogya Upaniṣad also says, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, Tattvamasi. All these statements by the Chāndogya Upaniṣad indicates to us that the world is nothing but Brahman, and transactions are only using the name and form. But in reality, we are transacting with the fundamental principle, which is the knowable Brahman. And what we are knowing in every object or through every experience, pradibodham, every bodham or every experience is an act of knowing. And the act of knowing is because the things are knowable in nature. Let us look the continuity of the same thing which is in the verse number 67. Gṛhyamāṇe gade yadvan mrittika ayati vaibhalat vikhyamāṇe prapanchobi brahma eva abhādi bhāsuram. Yadvat, just as gade gṛhyamāṇe, when the jar is being perceived, mrittika eva bhalat ayati. Whether you like it or not, whether we like it or not, when we are apprehending or grasping or knowing a pot, the nature of mud with which it is being made is inevitably coming to us, even though there is a name and form which is not there in the mud. The mud has its own name and form. The lump of mud. It is called mud. It is called a lump because of the shape. And we know that the name and shape is different from that of a jar. But when the jar is being perceived, the name and form is different. Whether we call it with the name and form as a jar, the fundamental cause with which it has been made as mud, that cannot escape our knowledge, our experience, or our understanding. That is why balat ayati, by force, whether we like it or not, the earth is coming along with the name and form to us. We say it's an earthen pot. Tata, just as the case which we had discussed about the pot and the mud. Prapanche vikṣamāṇe. When the phenomenal world is being experienced, bhāsuram means shining, Brahma eva abhāti. What is being known in the world of objects, in the contents of the object, it is the knowledge of existence and awareness of the nature of Brahman, which is along with the name and form we are knowing it. So when you say that you are knowing anything, actually you are knowing the existence and awareness of that thing along with the name and form of the content of that, whatever may be that thing. Why it is that is similar to the mud and the lamp? Because the cause for the lamp is the mud. Same way, the cause for everything which is being experienced, in all experiences, that one thing which is common, irrespective of what is the nature of experience, internal emotions, feelings and thoughts, or the world of objects outside the prapancha, the phenomenal world. One thing is coming common to us is the knowledge of, or the experience in the form of knowing. That is why Brahma eva abhāti. What is being known is the knowledge aspect, or the awareness aspect, or the consciousness aspect, through the name and form. When we contemplate on that, or when we do a analysis properly, we will know that if there is no existence and consciousness or awareness of the object, we may not, or we will not, or we can never have any experience of that object. Therefore, what we are saying is that it is always this knowledge or the nature of Brahman which is there in all the objects which we are experiencing, internal or external, emotions, feelings or thoughts or otherwise. Kārya-kāraṇayoho-ananyatvam eva disṭāntena spashtayati gṛhyamāṇe iti bhāsuram pramāṇa-nirapekṣataya eva bhāsana-shīlam spashtam-anyat. It's all complete single sentences where the statements are being explained. Kārya-kāraṇayo-ananyatvam eva. The non-difference alone, or the identity or inseparability of the non-cause and effect, is the one which is made clear through these examples. Gṛhyamāṇa iti. That means in the case of the mud and the pot, what is being grasped is the mud, whether it is in the form of a lump or whether it is in the form of a pot. What is being grasped or known is the substance or the cause for it. That is what is luminous or self-shining or self-revealing all the time. Same way, pramāṇa-nirapekṣataya eva vāsana-shīlam sprashtam. As being independent of any other means of knowledge, pramāṇa-nirapekṣataya. Vāsana-shīlam, having the nature of luminosity, or the luminosity here is not that it is shining like sun or a lamp or anything. Illuminosity here, or the illumination, or the nature of exhibition, or the presence which is being made available by the objects. That is what is called the luminosity or the self-luminosity. So, prakāsha. For the subject, I am or I exist, you don't need anything outside for you to know that. That is the same self which is being present in every experience or every object of experience in the world, whether it is emotional feelings or thoughts or objects outside, external in the world. All of them have got the same, that I exist aspect in them. The I here is the object. The I is also the subject here. The subject and object are not different from the same cause, which is the luminosity or the self-luminous nature or the suprakāsata of Brahman or Atman, or the self or the pure awareness. The non-difference of the cause and effect, that is the most important aspect of it. This is one word which you should never forget. Ananyatva. Then only you will be able to dissolve the separation between the subject and the object and the cause and effect relationship. Therefore, the world becomes a cause for my problems, will be negated or vanished or dissolved only when you know that they are not different from the same cause from which you are also made of. I know that I exist. This I know I exist is the feeling or the experience or the expression of all atoms or items in the world also. Whether it is a emotion, feeling, thought, object outside, they all have the same aspect of what you call self-luminosity, vāsana-shīlata. The vāsana-shīlata is that nature, suprakāsata. In the Chāndogya Upaniṣad, in the Upaniṣad, there is one full section, Antaryami Brahmana, talking about this self-luminosity of Brahman. So, in this, Shankara strengthened that the point of cause and effect by giving this example of self-luminosity, self-evident and self-shining nature of everything in this world. So, there is a statement in the Upaniṣad which is saying, Atma va are drashtavya shrotavyo mantavyo nididhyasitavya. Where Shankaracharya explicitly calls for the self as suprakāsha. That is, if you were, it is in the second chapter, 4th section, verse mantra 5 and 6, where the description of Swayam Prakasha, Suprakashe kuto avidya. It is the statement by Sureshwaracharya in this as a Vartika. When he said Atmava are drishtavya, shrotavya, mantavya, nididhyasitavya is the 245, he is talking to his wife Maitreyi. Oh dear Maitreyi, my dear wife, this what I am going in search. In spite of having all the knowledge, is the Atma. And that Atma is the one which is needed to be srotavya, to be heard of first. That is why it becomes Shastra or the Śruti or the Shabda Jnana or Pramāṇa for the knowing it. Srotavya, Drishtavya, to be realized. Mantavya, to be reflected upon that. When you are knowing it, it may come as a flash. It may not remain with you. You may have that logic giving temporary satisfaction for your doubts or ignorance or, eradication of your wrong knowledge of who we are. So, Drishtavya, Srotavya, when we have done that after hearing and when we have realized it, Mantavya, Nididhyasidavya is the two words which he is further saying that. This has to be reflected upon. What logic has exposed to you will not remain with you, will not become your day-to-day experience or your reality until and unless you reflect upon that and meditate upon it to make it a convinced knowledge that you are not what you think you are now as a body, mind, intellect complex, but you are that self-luminous Atma. You are the one which is aware of everything. Your nature is awareness. You are aware of your mind. You are aware of your intellect. You are aware of the body. You are aware of your breathing. You are aware of your, happiness in the deep sleep. Everything is known to you. You are the knowledge in personification. You are the knower of everything. Therefore, that is to be meditated upon as who you are, not what you thought till now as what you are. And Shankara insists that the self is not an object for ordinary perception. It is not something which is seen by our sensory perception, either by the eyes, ears, or mind, even mentally. It is not as a pramāṇa or a perception, knowledge, which we can apprehend or know our own Atma, our own nature. It is self-revealed. It is revealing all the time. We are all the time revealing our own nature, because every experience, every knowledge, everything that is happening, every momentary thing, it is our nature of self-awareness because of which we are being aware of things. Therefore, it is self-revealed all the time. Swayam Prakasha. Swayam Prakasha means it doesn't need the eyes, the ears, the nose, etc., or the mind to know itself. All pramāṇas, all means of knowledge, like the perception, inference, example, etc., operate only because the self is shining them. When I am not illumining that, the eyes, the ears, the nose, etc., the mind, the intellect, etc., I have to be shining. In my shining, everything else is shining. The sun doesn't shine itself. The sun is shining because my awareness is able to know that. The moon is not shining, even it is reflected, the sun's moonlight is what is being there. It is not shining until I shine. My knowledge or my awareness or my shining is the nature of the shining of the moon also is there. Tasya bhasa sarvam idam vibhati. In that shining of my own nature of self-awareness, or in my nature of being consciousness or awareness, everything is experienced because my experience is a self-shining nature, object of nature of self-shining. It is that which is becoming the subject. It is there present in the objects. Therefore, I am also knowing the object because they are present in the object also. So the subject knowing the object is not a phenomenon of the world of experience. It is the nature of the subject and the object. Both of them are self-shining in nature. So prakashata is there in everything. We are deluded, or we are concluding ourselves thinking that I am the one who is knowing. Actually, there is no knowing taking place. They are all shining in their own light. They are all awareness in nature. There is no knowing taking place. We are thinking that the knowing is taking place, but there is no activity of knowing. All there is that self-awareness. Awareness, when it is being seen in the names and forms, we call it as the self-awareness. When it is understood that it is same in everything, there is ananyatva, non-difference between the original self, or the Brahman or Atman, in which or the all objects which are appearing to have taken names and forms, is also shining in that light. In that light of Brahman, the subject is shining, the objects are also shining. Both of them cannot shine if the Brahman is not shining, then there is no subject and object. The subjectivity and the objectivity is a delusion created by the mind, thinking they are separate. That is why it is called Maya, because what is not there is being projected by it. The separatedness is not there, but the mind projects it, or the Maya projects the separateness, and we think that there is separated. The snake is not separate from the rope, but when the ignorance or the Maya or the avidya projected the snake, the rope and the snake, two different things existed at the same time. One person seeing the snake, the other person seeing the rope. And only when they discussed it between each other, they knew that the rope was unreal, mithya or maya. All the time what existed was nothing but the rope in the past, present and future. Same way, it is always the Brahman that is there. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. All these things are nothing but Brahman. We are not able to see that unity or the unified field of knowledge, of awareness, in which different names are being taken, different forms are appearing. But the names and forms are not independent. They are all dependent on the existence, awareness of the object. Atma hi swayam prakasha. It is only the Atma or Brahman what is self-luminous. Tasmin sadi sarvani pramāṇa-ni pravartante. Because the nature of Atma or the self or Brahman is to illumine, to shine or to project or to, the knowledge aspect of it. All other means of knowledge like the eyes, ears, etc., or the inference, etc., all of them are able to function only because awareness is present. All that is present, all that were everywhere, everything is dependent, or the effect. In the effects, the cause is nothing but the same Brahman or Atman. So that is why when the Upanishads say that there is only one thing, Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma, people are not able to understand. People are not able to fathom the way in which the Upanishad is conveying the message to us. Unless I shine, the I is not the ego, because ego is also an object for me to know. In my knowledge, my ego is also an object. So the one which is shining is not the ego, but the one which is shining, even the ego, the individuality, or the name and form of the individuality, or the objects. Everything became, the moment it has got a name and form, has to be separate from you. There is no object which has got a name and form is also a subject. No. The subject has no name and form. Analyze it. Think and let me know. Does the object has name and form to call itself as the subject? Everything in the subject, whether it is my awareness, bodham, or the Panchabhutas like Akasha, Prithivi, Vayu, Akasha, all of them. All these things are referred to as cause for creation, just as the mud is the cause for the creation. But the mud is also in awareness, and the pot is also in awareness. When we are apprehending the pot, we are apprehending the mud also. But we are apprehending the awareness also. If the awareness is not apprehended, neither the pot exists nor the lump exists. Tasya jnane sati sarvam vijñātam syāt. When it is known, everything else is as good as known, or is known. There is no everything else to say that everything else. Therefore, it is as good as known. Sarvam vijñātam syāt. Everything becomes known just because from one it appears as many. The one has not undergone to become many. It is in appearance they are feeling to be separate. But when you are in the consciousness or awareness or knowing, in that knowing or consciousness or awareness, there is no bifurcation that can be done. I am the knower and that rest of the things are known. Or the world has partially knowable object and partially unknowable object. No. If it exists, if it is existing and is being perceived by either direct means or indirect means, whatever may be that, it shows that that presence or being made available itself to the subject is because they are made not different from the subject. Therefore, the subject and the object becomes one and the same as the cause and effect. But if you look at the name and form, they may appear to be different. kārya-kāraṇa-ananyatvam eva drishtāntam spashtayati gṛhyamāṇa iti bhāsuram pramāṇa-nirapekṣaya eva bhāsana-shīlam. We saw that explanation being given to the previous verse. So there is this self-luminosity. So swayam prakashata. The self-illuminous thoughts, perception, pramāṇa, but does not need illumination from anything else. Everything, whether it is the thoughts or perception or, our physical experience, they all are in the self-luminous awareness. If the awareness and self-luminosity of the awareness has not been shining on them, it is as good as having them in a dark room without light. You don't know what is kept bare. But there is no knowledge also. There are things inside the room which are reading. The moment the light comes, the light is illumining our eyes as well as the object. It is in that light we are able to see ourselves and the objects. Or whether the sun comes or the lamp is, whatever is the source of light. But ananyatvam has to be understood. That is the place where we fail. We have difficulty in understanding that aspect. Only for that, the examples are being given that whenever we are perceiving a jar or a pot, we are perceiving the mud. The pot cannot independently exist without the mud. Same is the case of everything in this world, whether it is the subject or the object. It is the self-awareness, self-luminosity, or the self-awareness, which is the reason why we are experiencing the multiplicity. The multiplicity has the dependency on the self-awareness. And that has to be understood. Only when we can see that, then only we can say the world never exists outside Brahman or apart Brahman or in Brahman. Everything appears to have taken up names and forms. That is why the Vivartavada is important. Parinama, had it become different, you won't see the cause in the effect. For example, if the milk had become curd, the curd has different properties and it can never be reverted back to milk. It may contain solids which comes from the milk, but while it is sweet in the milk, it is sourish in the curd. So you cannot say they are the same. But in the case of Brahman and the world cannot become separate from Brahman. If it had become separate from Brahman, there would have been objects which is not known to us. And that homogeneity of the nature of knowing in everything, every aspect of creation, is the reason why we say that it is an appearance in the Brahman. Jnana and moksha. These two aspects has to be understood in this light. It is the Swaprakasha, realizing that my nature is that nature of self-awareness, that ends the fear and the feeling in me as there are things other than me. Idaram andaram kurute atatasya bhayam bhavati. There is nothing andaram for me or separate from me, because it is the self-luminosity with which I am existing. And it is the same self-luminosity with which every object of the world, including the emotions and feelings, are existing. And they are available, they are known only because they have got the same self and luminosity in it. So, when we know that there is no second, na dutiyam asti, or na utaramandaram kurute, that is the time when we reach abhya prapti, the attainment of fearlessness or the state of freedom from all sorts of fear that can happen from the otherness is eliminated by the right knowledge about the fundamental principle of knowingness. Is the reason why we are able to transact. While living, we will be able to do this to achieve the freedom from misapprehension or wrong knowledge which were holding us till now. Because Brahman is known not as an object, but as our own very self. The very reason why I know I am knowing is present in every object. Therefore, I am knowing the object. That knowledge aspect or the awareness aspect, when it is illumining continuously everything in this ambit, that is the time when we realize that there is no jivo brahmaiva nabara. There is no difference between the jiva and the Brahma. And that itself is the Jivan Mukti, or the freedom from what you call as limitation, what we feel it. In the Bhagavad Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, all there is this, na tatra suryo bhadina chandra tarakam, nema vidyuto bhanti kuto yamagni, tameva bandam anuvadi sarvam, tasya bhasa sarvam idam vivadi. This Atman is not illumined by the sun, moon, fire or anything. This Brahman or the self in everything. The self in including the sun, moon and etc. All lights shine because of, they are all from Brahman only. Therefore, this self-awareness or self-knowledge or self-consciousness is Swayam Prakasha, or the nature of illumining the existence and the presence. Whereas the moon needs sun to show that the moon is there. We are required to be present to know whether the sun exists or not, or the lightning exists or not, etc. The light, lamp, etc. It is in my presence that everything is shining. Shining means it is not shining in the light. It is the shining of in the self-awareness. The self is the light of lights. It is Jyotisham Jyoti. the witness consciousness that requires no other witness. It is a witness to all, Sarva Sakshi. Now, in the Chāndogya Upaniṣad, it says that Swapnamaya Swarupena Yavat Tishtatya Prajñānti Tavat Satyam Bhavet Swapne Rajadi Sthanha Vibhramaha. Even the objects inside the dream, not only waking, even the objects, every atom of experience of the dream is getting illumined because of my awareness. There is no my there. The awareness of the self is the one which is appearing as the dreamer and the dreaming world of objects. The waker and the waking world of objects, and the deep sleeper, and the knowledge of knowingness of nothingness, that I knew nothing in my deep sleep, but I existed. My self-awareness was there, therefore I existed. This is the nature of Atma. Swaprakashaha, Swayam Prakashaha. And that is the kārya kāraṇa-ananyatva. From that, we can make out that the cause and effect, I am the cause as self-lumining nature, and the self-lumining nature is present in every experience of mine. Pratibodha vititam matam amrutatva hi vindate. That is how we are able to get the immortality. And bhāsuram pramāṇa-nirapekṣa eva bhāsana shailam. This self shines by itself, while all else, everything else, with the name and form, borrows the existence and knowability because it is coming from the same self. Therefore, sarvam khalu idam brahma. I'll stop here. We'll continue on the 768th verse on Wednesday. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you.
Pranam Bindoji. Hari Om. I've turned on the hand raising. If there are any questions, please raise your hands. I'm also pasting the link for the Sanskrit text in the chat and the channel Advaita Retold, where all Binduji's talks are, kept properly for your listening. The hand raising is open. Thank you, Binduji.
Thank you, Prakash. I don't think anybody is coming up for questions. Should we wait?
If you
Andy,
have time,
come up.
yes, Andy's coming.
Revati. Yes.
Thank you. Namaste. I do have a question, and I'm curious to know if it's the right I don't know if idea.
Go ahead.
Yes. So if Brahman is projecting to know itself, it seems as if the the person that thinks their body mind world, they seem to also be projecting to know themselves by having children. It seems that there's some type of pattern happening, but one, and I think that I'm confused about that. Like, it looks like a pattern when you think of God, Brahman projecting to know himself more. And then, you know what I mean?
I know. See, there is this imagination that somebody has got a desire to know, or something has a desire to know, therefore it became many, is a thought when we think that there is multiplicity. When the multiplicity itself is denied, how can there be a thought or a desire to have anything? If we are seeing the multiplicity, we are seeing the experiences of everything, it is because we are depending upon the names and forms, not on the reality with which the names and forms are appearing. Once we know that there is, in reality, there is no multiplicity, it is my dependency of my mind which is not able to understand the oneness in everything, which is giving rise to the cause of multiplicity. Like not knowing the rope became the snake, not knowing the self is self-luminous, and that self is itself is the reason why everything is being known. That aspect, if it is not understood, then everything is separate from me, and then there is somebody wanting to know. All these type of thoughts are after effects of that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation.
Thank you, Auntie.
Yeah.
Namaste, Revati.
Namaste, Indraji.
Namaste, Revati.
The pramāṇa-nirapekṣa, the word is here, the rejection of pramāṇa to know Brahman.
Yes.
Am I correct? No.
Yes.
Yes.
Brethren, because there is no pramāṇa required to know yourself. Whether you exist or not, others cannot say. Others can say your body exists, your movement is seen, all those things can be. But as the awareness which you are knowing everything, or awareness in which your own existence and the existence of everything else existence is your personal experience. Others cannot say whether Revati is experiencing the existence of other things or your own existence. Your own existence means you are not the body, mind, intellect. So when I am saying Revati is existing, I am talking about the body, mind, intellect, which I know as a person, as Revati, who is now I am calling as Revati being existing. But when I know that your body, mind, intellect, or the physicality is also known because of my awareness. In my awareness, it is known as you, as the body, mind, intellect, and I called it as Revati. The name and form given to Revati is due to me thinking that there is separate existence for a person called Revati who has a name and form. But when I realize that I am awareness, and it is in my awareness, all this mind, intellect, body, and the name Revati and the individual Revati, all are in my awareness, or in the awareness which is not mine anymore at that time. Is the same awareness with which you are knowing, the same awareness with which I am knowing, same awareness with everything else is exhibiting as existing awareness, or existence itself is shown as awareness or presence. That is when it becomes pramāṇa-nirapekṣa. That doesn't need dependency of anything else to tell that I am existing, others are existing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Auntie, you have anything else to ask? You raised your hand. Oh, okay. Srinivas, Raj, Aryan, Dude, Earl. So, Prakash, I think we will
Yes,
wind up.
Binduji. Yes, but I have one question.
Go ahead.
When we gain this insight, how does one maintain this insight without it becoming a concept? Is that something that is elaborated further as you go down the text?
See, if you are maintaining it as a concept,
Yes.
the experience will be not different from what you are experiencing now. You will not able to see the oneness in which all these names and forms are appearing. Therefore, what happens is that the otherness in the feeling as a theory will come up. In that experience, otherness will come up. And the otherness is now covering that unity of self-awareness in everything. And then you become the subject, and everything else becomes an object. And therefore, the subject-object experience and the world of experience appears to be real. The person who has seen that unity, that I am not separate from everything what is being perceived as the names and forms or the objects. I am even while seeing those objects, the fundamental reality of the knowledge that it is in my knowledge, in my awareness, my nature is the reason why the otherness is separately seen or experienced, but it has no independent existence. They are dependent upon the same awareness with which I am as a subject also is depending upon. So therefore, the otherness is not a threat or a challenge or a question which I'll be facing, but that unity will give rise to a state of freedom that I don't have to aggrandize, I don't have to desire, I don't have to en masse or make anything my own, because I am everything. That knowledge is like knowing the water is not there in the desert. You are no more attracted by that appearance of water which still appears in the desert. The appearance is not water. That knowledge will set you free for going toward that pond of water which you are seeing in the desert. Same way, this knowledge in us knowing that everything is that awareness of my self-awareness is this awareness present in every object. I don't have to have a feeling that I should own the object or make that any object my own, because I am the reason why they are all there very first place. Therefore, I don't feel that separatedness and I have total freedom.
Thank you, Binduji. Good.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you. And how have you been?
Thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Just
Great.
I noticed that others weren't coming up here as much, but I know that it takes time and energy to do what you're doing, and so I appreciate it. And just want to say thank you.
Thank you, dude. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll close today's room and continue on Wednesday from the remaining verses. All of them are important going now onwards. So please try to be consistent, or at least listen to the replays and be present whenever possible. Thank you all. Namaste. Good night to those who are in the West, and good day to those who are in the East. Thank you. Hari Om.
Namaste.
Hare Om Binduji.
Hari Om.